What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Metal Maniacs Podcast. Today we have an interview with Michigan Grindcore act. See you next Tuesday. These guys were gracious enough to jump on the podcast with us and talk about their new upcoming tour, which starts, if you're seeing this video, this week. These guys were on a hiatus for a long time, but they've been known around the Michigan scene for a very long time, and they were always pushing the boundaries of extreme and technical music. So hopefully you enjoy the interview, and much love.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Whoa. Whoa.
Whoa.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Chris? How you doing, buddy?
What's
Oh,
good, man?
not too bad. Just taking a break from artwork to talk to you fellas.
Nice.
Oh, thanks for taking
Yeah.
the time.
Appreciate
Yeah, no
it.
problem.
Drew's popping in too then?
I think Drew and Jimmy. Yeah.
Okay. Hell yeah. Cool.
Yeah, Rick's he's on a work thing right now, so I don't think he's joining us, but yeah, three of us at least.
Nice.
That's cool. Appreciate that.
Cool. Yeah,
Well,
no problem.
Well, before we get started, I'm Jay.
Hello. And then
I'm
you
Nick.
must be Nicholas. Okay.
I am.
I was going to
Cool.
say, yeah, our names are right there, so that kind of helps.
Yeah, right. Right on.
Are you
Well,
working
sweet.
on a commissioned piece of art currently, or are you just painting
I'm
for yourself?
doing our tour, like our screen printed tour poster right now.
Okay.
It has to be finished by tonight. I've been putting it off. So, yeah, after we're done, I'll be up till probably 2 or 3 in the morning working on that.
Hey,
Well-
speaking of art, I was going to bring this up on the show. Do you remember this piece of art? Can you see this?
What is that?
Green
Why is it
alien.
What is that?
Green alien.
So
brain.
you did a piece of art for an EP of ours, Infinite Design, back in the day. So you know,
shit.
yeah. So you know Larry. You did a bunch of his tattoos, Larry Passanier, and he
Oh,
sang
Larry.
in our band.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he was. I didn't know you did a bunch of his tats or whatever, but we commissioned a piece of art from you. It's like an alien, fucking.
Kind of remember it.
It's pretty fucking sick though. But
Must
yeah,
have been
I
a
mean,
long
I'm sure
time
you've
ago.
done. Yeah, it's been a long
Yeah.
time ago. I know you've
Yeah.
done so much art though, so it's kind of like, fuck, man. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it must
it's
have
like-
been a real long time ago.
yeah, so like writing
it looks
songs,
vaguely
you know.
familiar. It's
Yeah.
kind of blurry.
Yeah, it's
from
hard to tell on
the
Zoom.
video
But
shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah, you'll
I'd-
have to send a
I'd wear it.
picture of that to me. I'd like
Yeah.
to see it, honestly.
Yeah, well, it's really fucking cool. It was for one of our EPs, but we put it on a shirt. So,
Right on. Cool.
but yeah, Larry was telling me the other day because I told him I was going to talk to you guys, and he said that you did a bunch of his tattoos and shit for him. So I was like, that's cool.
I think I've done a few. I don't know how many.
Yeah.
At least like 1 or 2.
Yeah, that's what he said, like 2 or 3, something like that. I don't know.
Mhm.
So
He lost like a ton of weight, didn't he?
yeah, dude, he had that
Yeah,
surgery,
that's awesome. Yeah, right
Yeah.
on. That's good for him. Awesome.
But-
Taking good care of himself. Yeah.
but he feels a
Good.
lot better. You know.
Oh yeah, I fucking bet.
Yeah.
Shit.
I look at old pictures and that dude was like 400 pounds, and it was like, man,
He was giant.
singing and doing that, you know. So, hey,
Speaking
what's
of
up,
big
James?
guys.
Hell yeah.
What's up,
Oh,
dude?
sweetie. Are you muted? There you
No.
go.
We got
Cool
No.
shirt.
so the drummer has entered the chat.
Oh shit!
Nice,
Mhm.
How you guys doing?
good
Good.
man. How are you doing?
Good.
Awesome.
We're gonna have a special guest on my end today.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
4-legged.
oh, is Rick there?
He's going to be.
Oh, sweet. Cool. I guess
Yeah.
we are getting all 4 of us in.
Nice.
Fucking cool, man.
See that album collection back there is pretty boastful. That's fucking wild.
What's that?
Your album collection, that's pretty sick, man. That's
Oh, thank you. It's
Yeah.
spilled over onto the floor because I'm out of shelf space.
any more shelves will be covering the posters, and they can't have that.
I know that's the bitch about it. Fox and I are both avid print collectors, and I've come to find that I'm running out of I can't hang anything really in here because I have to hey babe, can I put some stuff out in the hallway or
She doesn't want you contaminating the rest of the house with your bullshit.
can I hang
Oh
this
my
sick
goodness.
Kill Bill print over our bed, please?
Nice.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Uh-oh. Good.
Here's
Got Drew
Drew.
coming in.
There's just like a random picture of Drew.
With his doggy.
Love it.
Kind of looks like Stephen Lambert in that picture. There he is.
True.
Hi.
That was weird. There we go.
It takes a minute.
Well, we got a full house.
Yeah, we do.
Mhm.
How about it?
So,
Let's party.
all right, cool. Well, you can see my name up there. I'm Jay, guys.
Jay
Hey
guys.
Jay,
Jay,
Jay.
guys. That's Nick.
like JK's.
Yep, Jay Case. And, so we started this podcast, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, something like that. So we're fairly new, but I appreciate you guys jumping on the Zoom call with us.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
no problem.
our whole podcast is an homage to the Metal Maniacs magazine. So,
Oh wow, cool.
that's something that we grew up on, was the Metal
Yeah, same.
Maniacs magazine,
For sure.
discovering all of the extreme metal. So, you guys fit right in with all the shit that
Hell
we
yeah.
like,
Hell yeah.
It's cool as fuck that also you guys for the most part from Michigan, right? So
Except
Up
for
until Jimmy.
yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Mr. Blastbeats.
yeah, Mr. Blastbeats. I'm gonna call him Mr. BB.
Where are you at from Michigan? You're not in the fucking hand, bro.
Yeah.
How far out of the hand are you? Where are you from, Jimmy?
I'm in the pothole of Ohio.
Oh man. Oh god.
I'm from Columbus, so
Uh-oh.
I'm right in the middle.
Oh man. I'm actually going to Columbus May 18th. I'm going to be down there for Sonic Temple.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
Yeah, that's a big deal down here. It used to be called something else, Rock on the
Rock
Range or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And
Never went to it then.
it's just too much for me. Like that's too much people for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially
Um,
for 4 days, I could combine like one day full of everybody I'd want to see. So, but you'll have fun. There's
Yeah,
a lot
I'm-
of cool places around.
Not for me, but you'll enjoy it.
You got my number.
So starting off here, back in the day, do you guys remember playing like a sweat fest? You ever played that? So my buddy Luke used to hold like the sweat fest, and I swear that you guys were on that. His name was Luke Fortin. Played
Yeah,
in
I
a
know
band
Luke.
called Reinventing Yesterday, and we played in a band together called Indrid. I don't know if you guys.
Oh, I remember
that.
Indrid. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I think that's how I met Luke, actually.
Yeah, so I
Flesh
swear
and
to
blood playing with you guys.
Yep. So I thought See You Next Tuesday played one of those, but maybe I was incorrect about
It's
that.
very possible. I mean, I was a go-getter back then, so I was trying to get us on all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if we didn't fit in.
Yeah, for
Flesh
you
and blood
guys-
might have played it. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I definitely remembered Flesh and Blood being there for sure.
It sounds very familiar. Weirdly enough, See You Next Tuesday didn't really play like Western Michigan a ton until Fox got in the band.
Okay.
It was like Flesh and Blood Robot had us come to, what was it, Bell's Bar or Bell Bar or
What the
10
fuck
Bells?
is that place? 10 Bells. Yeah, that's it. 10 Bells.
10
and then-
Bells.
Remember
Yeah.
that big warehouse show we played with Showbridge?
Oh yeah, out on like 28th Street, like out that
Yeah.
way.
It was a venue. It was only open a little while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Aftershock or Aftermath or something they called it.
The Aftermath. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, the Aftermath. Yeah, so really, we only played a handful of shows with Flesh and Blood over there. Like, for whatever reason, we had a heck of a time, like, getting shows on that side of the state. We drive right by it and play Chicago with no problem. But that was the early See You Next Tuesday, with
Yeah.
Bear and stuff. So, we
Yep.
were only active like maybe 2 years or something before
Yeah.
Fox got in the band. And then from there, it was like, Ferret Records being like, hey, you're going to tour a bunch. And we're like, okay.
Yeah. And I want to get into that a little bit. So when you guys kind of first started it, so the rumor has it you were kind of, I know this has been your main project, right, Drew? So
Yeah.
they said you guys were kind of a joke band or something?
It was one of those things where, like, if you listen to the stuff that was on, like, that Wax Festival release, the God Awful Sonic History, like, that stuff was, like, basic-ass metalcore.
Mm.
And, like, I didn't even listen to that type of music back then. It was kind of just my way of being like, I could write breakdowns too. And then it wasn't until I wrote Here Take This Pill. That was like the first song that I wrote where I was like, oh, this is a different vibe of stuff that I've been doing, and once we like got to like Portable Death Ray and then 8 Dead, 9 If You Count the Fetus, those 3 songs, once we recorded those for the summer sampler, that's when we started kind of taking it more serious, where it's like, okay, we kind of have like a sound and a direction and this weird kind of chaos of stuff. And yeah, so I mean, it wasn't necessarily like a joke per se. It was just like, I'm in a band and I'm just writing whatever and having fun with it. And then like the song titles, obviously, everyone thinks that was like a big joke, but that was just a play on pop culture, because all the song titles are just quotes from movies and TV shows.
Okay.
Like Anchorman and The Shield and random stuff.
Mr. Show.
And Mr. Show, yeah. Kingdom Hospital, which was like a Stephen King TV show. So yeah, just like random shit, like they were funny, like some of the song titles are funny, sure, but it didn't mean that we weren't taking it seriously, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going with it. I was like, you listen to, you guys' first material and it's very serious. I mean, as far as like technicality, production-wise, everything, I was like, it's very extreme. So what kind of led you down that road? Because, back then you had a lot of the bands coming out around that time, Dillinger, Converge, Number 12 Looks Like You, Kill Whitney Dead, those kind of bands that were really pushing the envelope. And I feel like you guys kind of fit right in there. I felt like maybe you guys are a little more technical, maybe not than Dillinger, but than some of them other bands, just as far as like your playing drew, just all the tapping and the, noises and stuff. But what drew you to want to make music like the music that you make, I guess?
I don't know. I always kind of felt like we were like the second wave of that stuff. Cause like, if you think about it, and this blows a lot of people's minds, but Calculating Infinity came out in 1999.
Yep.
Don't remind
me. Right? Like wrap your head around 25 fucking years ago that record came out. So like See Next Tuesday formed in late 2004. Somewhere in 2004-ish.
Right there.
No, I think it might have been like spring of 2004, because it was 2005 when we put the summer sampler out. So that it took us a year to like figure out that we like gave a shit about being in a band together. So like Converge was always a huge influence for me. I was listening to them for years. But like right when we started figuring out our sound, bands like Sawtooth Grin, Number 12 Looks Like You, Daughters, Psyopus, Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza. I feel like we're part of that wave. Yeah. Which, if you think about it, those are all the bands that didn't really find the career level and then all broke up. Like Dillinger's and Converge were very much like upper echelon, but they started it. You know what I mean? They paved the damn way. They deserve it. Like every band that has too many members and wears masks will not outlive Slipknot. It's just what it is. Slipknot is the founder. So, but yeah, so it's like, I think it was a level of, like MySpace was there and we were putting out like small EPs, a couple songs of a few minutes, so a lot of us were hearing each other's music, and I think it was just a boundary push type of thing, where it's just like, oh my God, Number 12 just fucking did this shit. We got to top it. That type of thing. So that, and I was a guitar nerd too, like in my first real job when I turned 18, as I worked at like a mom and pop guitar shop and learned how to like set up guitars and install pickups and all types of different musicians, all walks of life, like would come through there, and I'd get to hear different people play. And I worked with a bunch of teachers. One notably is this guy named Scotty Vandell, who is just like a virtuoso. We used to play this game called Stump Scotty, where it's like if you named any song that was in like blues or rock categories from like 1950 to 1980s, if you named any song from that era, he could play it.
Oh wow!
It was bizarre, and but he was like a savant kind of guy. So it's like I remember having he showed me how to sweep pick. You know, I was like 18 years old, and having somebody like actually sit you down and like, this is how you do it. You form a triad, blah blah blah. I remember sitting there like day in and day out for like the better part of being 18 and 19, just going plunk 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 plunk, and then eventually like it just clicked. You know, so it was like, I think those two things combined, you know, like I had the knowledge, I guess, you know, like I had people there showing me stuff at an early age. You know, some of the other bands out there that were doing similar stuff didn't necessarily have like the training, I guess. But some people just have the brain for it. You know what I mean? Like not everybody needs to be taught something, but you know, I guess it's just a different way of approaching it. So,
yeah, so
that answer your question at all?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the technicality really, and then pushing the boundary of the guitar. You know, if you're just learning some of that sweep picking. I remember when I learned how to sweep pick, that was like the holy grail. Like, oh my god, fuck, I could sweep, and then you learned all the cool sounds you could make with it. You know.
So, yeah, it's never ending too. Like
yeah.
I'm still writing to this day using, you know, that same technique, you know.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to see you guys just recently. I went to that Bleeding Through 20th anniversary over in Detroit, because Nick and I, we live in Muskegon, so we're in West Michigan on the lake shore basically. So I went to the Bleeding Through anniversary show, and I got the fortunate to see you guys. I've never got to see you guys before, but you guys were badass there, man. Fucking awesome. Like
that was a badass show too. That was a ton of fun.
Great.
Walls of Jericho blew my fucking mind. I was like, what the fuck, man? I mean,
I definitely felt like they stole the show for sure.
Yeah, I was very impressed. But that was the first time I got to see you guys, and I remember, Drew, you warming up, and then, you know, just the intensity of you guys' show. I was very impressed. I was like, fuck yeah. So
thank you.
Just
Thanks, man.
not kissing your ass, but I did buy one of your shirts too, just because I thought you guys had the coolest artwork. So I was like,
thank you.
You guys put on a good show, plus you had the fucking best shirt, so I had to pick one up. So kudos.
We
to
try.
you on that.
We're all art nerds.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, you do tattoos, Drew, as well?
No,
you don't.
Definitely not.
Okay.
I'm not that talented of a person. I'm a different type of talent.
Okay, so just Chris.
Rick's a tattooer as well.
Oh, okay. That's where I got mixed up. I thought a couple of you guys did.
He couldn't make it. He's doing like some fundraising something or other this weekend, isn't he?
He's gonna make a guest appearance apparently, because
he's on his way over right now.
Yeah, he's in Columbus.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I thought he was out there tattooing or something like that. So he's going to pop in.
Apparently.
Oh, that's fun.
He just texted me and said he's on his way.
Awesome.
Oh, right on.
Fuck yeah.
So I want to get into a little bit of a few of your older releases. Then we'll talk about some of the stuff that, you know, Chris is on. And then we'll talk about, you know, getting Jimmy into the band or whatever. I know you guys are kind of like, well, we'll play that older shit, but we weren't on it. So we were doing
I don't know. I feel like Jimmy prefers to probably play the old stuff.
Yeah.
I prefer it all.
Nice. So you know, we got Parasite, you know, that you guys were on Ferret at that time, right? Was that your first release with them? So, and that was like 2007. You know, and there I'm kind of hearing, you know, that for me that it was really technical grind almost to me, you know, because there's like grind bands and noise bands, and you guys, I feel like you can venture into some of the noise stuff, but if you pay attention to what's going on, like there is some very technical shit going on in you guys' music there. And
thank you.
You know, I personally enjoy that because I can hear what it takes to do that. You know, there's a fine line between bands that are doing noise and bands that are just pushing the boundaries of what can be performed, and you guys do a great job on that. So I really like that album. I felt like the production was very clean on it.
Yeah, it's really, really clean record.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, that was something I never liked about that record, is how clean it sounded. But that's what Ferret wanted. Like, they heard our previous stuff, and I showed them records that I want us to sound like, and they're like, no.
No, Drew.
And that's kind of what stuck out to me. There was a very clean sound, because then when we start moving forward, it's a little less clean. I mean, you know, the technicality's still there, but it was like I could hear every guitar note. And I do have, you know, there's some great songs on there. The is it Paraphilia?
Paraphilia. Yep.
Yeah. That song kind of stuck out just because it's like there's actually a little bit of melody going on there. There's a, you know, it's almost like a traditional song, so it's like almost the one that really sticks out among the album because it's almost a little less chaotic than the other ones. So
yeah, I wrote that song as an interlude.
Okay.
I actually, believe it or not, I try to approach a record as an actual, like, full album. Like, it's I think every record we've put out so far, I guess Relapses doesn't really count because it was a remix album, but all three, Distractions, Parasite, and Intervals, to some degree, Fox and I, like, planned stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason there's 2 short songs on Intervals. There's a reason Paraphilia is a melodic, pretty song stuck in the middle of that record. It's meant to give the listener a break. You know, literally, like, that was something we thought of. Like, you know, it'd be cool in this crazy spastic record is if we put a traditional interlude, like something where people would get up and go pee, grab some more popcorn, sit back down, and enjoy the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt like the end of the albums too were intentionally written to decompress after the intensity of holy fuck, you know, whatever, 19-25 minutes of just, oh, Jesus Christ. And then like this doomy, sludgy, like melodramatic almost outro. So that tracks with what you're just saying, Drew. And I noticed that as well. Like these outros, these longer songs at the end are here for a reason, I think. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm glad that you brought up that song, because when we were making our set list for our comeback show, that Paraphilia song was my first pick. I said, I want to play this song. And we've only done it one time, but I love that song a lot, and it's for the reasons why you guys do. So I was like, we should throw this in the middle and kind of give us a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
Because when we were putting the set list together, Drew was like, I've got like 20 songs. And I was like, well, why don't we make it 22 or 21? You know,
we're playing like 22 or 23 right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, when you play a bunch of songs that are like 8 and 10 seconds and stuff, you know,
yeah, like shorter songs.
And then we have some 3-minute song. We have 2-minute songs. We're just all over the place.
I do like that though, because, you know, 5 minutes of that without any break might be a little, you know, it's definitely mind blowing. So if you guys keep it kind of short and sweet, you know, it kind of gives you those markers in there where you can discern different sounds and stuff that you guys are doing. I definitely like that. And then I do have a question for you, and this is a personal question, Drew. So Portable Death Ray, there's this thing on the guitar I heard in there. It's this fucking, I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like a sweep on harmonics or something. It's this really crazy fucking sound. And, you know, me playing guitar for years myself and playing technical metal, like, I can usually pick out what's going on, but that I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? What? I mean, that's literally my comment. How the fuck?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's a country picking technique. You hear it a lot in Nashville, like telly twang type of stuff, but all I'm doing is my picking hand. I like rotate my hand and I lay my thumb across my strings where my pickup is. You know, like you know how to do a pinch harmonic, right?
Oh yeah.
And you move a pinch harmonic around, you can find different harmonics. So obviously there's harmonics right over there. So I just pick which harmonic I want and I fret it using my thumb of my picking hand. And then my left hand, I'm just doing I'm hammering on the 3rd fret and then pulling off to open, and then I descend with that. Just 3 open, 3 open, 3 open, 3 open, 3 open. But I'm using this to create the harmonic.
Okay. That was just a very cool technique. I was like, that's fucking awesome. You know,
Again, it was one of those things where a random country player was touring in town and stopped by for some strings and turned me on to this other artist, and I checked them out, and I was watching some videos of this country picker because I was learning. I do a lot of hybrid picking too, where like I pick, but then I use these two fingers to also do stuff. I was really big into hybrid picking back in the day, and so like I just kind of ventured down a country path for a little while. I watched. I mean, some of those country pickers are just fucking outrageous.
Oh,
I mean, Fox had the pleasure of hanging out with Billy Strings all month long, and they're best friends now, and I'm not, and that's fine. But no, I mean, like that dude is. I don't know if you obviously you saw all the footage of the show.
Yeah,
you didn't end up coming though. You said you were thinking about coming out.
Yeah, I wanted to come out, and then it was like, oh, so the show was sold out, and I was like, oh shit, and then it was like as soon as they said something about Billy Strings, it was. Over with.
Yep.
But I mean, that dude is. And then playing, the Flesh and Blood stuff. It was no surprise to me that he could play all that shit just because of how good he is. You know what I mean? Like I was like, that seems like right up his alley.
Yeah.
Because he like shreds, but just on the acoustic.
Yeah, the whole performance was awesome, man. It was definitely like. It put me in a poorly lit VFW hall in like 2006 for sure.
Now, have you known him or something, Chris, for a long time, or knew he used to be
we grew up like in the same area. He's a bit younger than me, but even when we were doing Flesh and Blood, when we were all like 19, 20, 21, he was like 12, 13, playing in bands with us. Yeah, so we've known him since he was pretty young.
Okay. Yeah, it must be crazy to see his rise.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We're all super proud of him. He deserves every single bit of fame he gets. He's amazing. And he's still the same dude. He's still just a silly, awesome dude. I mean, we love him to death.
Super nice guy.
I heard him on the Theo Vaughn podcast a few weeks ago, and it was just kind of weird because I listened to it.
Talking about a bunch of meth.
Yeah. Not only just that, but then it was funny, like a few weeks later, then he's like playing with Flesh and Blood Robot. I'm like, holy shit, what a crazy world. Like, he's hanging out with Theo Vaughn talking about his wild past, which even my dad was like, did you hear Billy Strings on the Theo Vaughn podcast and all the shit he was talking about? And I was just like, I did. It was kind of wild.
The wild.
I mean, that's kind of the song that put him on the map, though. Dust in the Baggies about his buddy getting locked up for meth.
Yeah.
But yeah. Crazy. It was crazy. Definitely awesome. I mean, the dude, I've been a fan of the guy for a while. I'm actually, the only time I've seen him live was playing with Flesh and Blood Robot. And then one time he played the State Theater down here in Bay City where I live. And it was him and his dad doing they ended up putting a record out called Me and Dad.
Yeah.
Or Dad and Me or something like that. But yeah, it was just him and his dad, and they did a bunch of covers of songs. And, yeah, it was really cool though.
And that's the one they just went to the Grammys with, apparently, or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right, cool. So we'll get back to some See You Next Tuesday. Just a little side note.
Sure.
I told my wife that I was interviewing See You Next Tuesday, and she instantly started laughing. And she's not into extreme metal, but she was like, "I fucking love the name of that band." I was like, "Yeah, I get it." And she was like, "You get
People
it?"
either love it or hate it, that's for sure.
She's like, "You get it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I get it." Yeah, we get it.
It's funny when I try to explain to people who I work with, because I work for a bank, and people are like, "What's the name of your band?" I'm like, "Oh, I can't. Should I say this on this giant corporate Zoom call?" Like,
well, it's on my social media account. Just go ahead and find it.
Yeah. It's funny, and when I tell them, like, I just get giggles like all the time.
So then we move on to Intervals. That came out in 2008. Yeah, so like, I'm assuming Parasite was written for a while, and then you guys came out with that 2007, because 1 year between albums is kind of a quick turnaround, is it not? Or You were just hustling, Drew.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we were on the road, and Ferret was like, "Okay, let's put another album out." So we just had to start. Well, we were writing on the road, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
but,
I had.
Go ahead.
Oh no. I just wanted to say that I want to say that shortly after Parasite, like Ferret warned us that they're going to want another release because Parasite, I guess, was doing okay or whatever. So like in the back of my head, we kind of all talked like we should start writing. So I had kind of thought about some stuff, but nothing really came to fruition until they dropped it on us. It was like, hey, you got like 8 months, and I want you to go in the studio. So it was fun.
So you're saying, Chris, you guys were writing on the road?
Yeah, we were writing any chance we could.
Yeah.
Like we had a few months there where we were just, as soon as we get done recording, we pretty much jumped right on the road. Like our first tour was with A Case Strain and Job for a Cowboy and Psyopus, like right after we got out of the studio, and then we didn't really leave the road for another 10 or 11 months. We'd have like a week or two here and there where we were chilling. But so yeah, we had to do a lot of stuff on the road and get ready for intervals.
What was that like back in the day? Was that like a portable 4-track, or how do you guys write on the road, especially in that era?
I mean, we weren't like recording anything. I don't remember. It was just no, it was just us like going over riffs and
just jamming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing like Andy would he was because back then, I mean, like the iPods and iPads and stuff weren't like as they weren't around as much, to date ourselves a little bit. But Andy was very much like had the iPod or iPad or iPod, the one like the biggest one you could get. It was like a giant brick because he was like the music guy and he put every record that he owned on it and stuff like that. So he would kind of like try to put playlists together and stuff and like try to influence me with some different music. And then like there'd be times where like Travis was playing bass with us at the time, like at a venue, I would kind of have an idea for something and we'd sit down and kind of just like hash it out. And oh my God, it's Rick Woods. Where'd he go?
He's here.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. just fart for the audience. Let everyone know you're here.
Sorry to Kyle, I just spray farted in the shower this morning.
Rick has entered the chat.
There he is.
Hey Rick, how you doing, man?
And we got dogs. Sorry.
More special guests?
That's okay. Mine are just literally sleeping right next to me.
Bunch of lazy
pups.
Let mine down here.
Franklin.
Franklin.
So you were saying, Drew, that the guy was trying to influence you with music. And,
our old drummer Andy, he would kind of like make some playlists and try to find some stuff to just like push my brain away from just listening to the same thing over and over and over. But I couldn't help but listen to the same thing over and over. Like I the same year that we were writing Intervals was like the same year that I really, really got into like bands like Rotten Sound, Regurgitate, and Nasum, and like my musical path was like going this way to where everybody thinks I continued listening to the same thing, but it was like grindcore.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, I had a huge musical shift in taste. And Andy was the only one in the band that didn't, like Fox was the same way. His musical taste was getting heavier. He was listening to a lot more death metal and yeah, so it just, I think Intervals was a big different sounding record too, because like all of us had some influence on it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just like a bunch of stuff that I wrote by myself and then worked out with them, and then we went in the studio and recorded. It was a lot of on the road together and actually bouncing ideas off of each other and stuff like that too. So
okay, so and then this right here, Chris, is kind of when you entered the band about this time. Is that what happened, or?
I'm sorry?
No,
He was on earlier.
I was on Parasite.
Oh, you were? Okay, cool. Because I know Bear was in the band, right?
Yeah, I joined the band, I think, a little less than a month before we started recording Parasite.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome.
So it's pretty much like, yeah, you're in, now write all the lyrics, you know? So like most of Parasite I wrote in the studio, like the lyrics, and even the songs that, you know, Bear had lyrics to, we didn't have like actual written lyrics when nobody knew what the fuck he was saying. So like anything that like the Summer Sampler songs, like I matched my lyrics to his vocal patterns on the previous recording just so it was similar. But yeah, I was on Parasite.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure about that because the vocals to me are a little bit different on intervals than they are in Parasite. So
definitely.
Yeah. But that's cool that you can do that because I know you're a machine with the vocals. So
thanks.
But seeing on this, like the intervals, you know, this, and Drew, this might allude to kind of what you were saying before, where Parasite was a little more clean. I can tell this one is a little more on the not clean side as far as, you know, like it opens up and there's like some feedback going on. The guitar seems a little more on the low end side where it's kind of almost dives more into this grindcore type sound. Am I correct if I say that? Or
yeah, I had a similar vision going into Parasite as far as how the record was going to sound. But the producer for Parasite literally did something. I'm sure you're familiar with the term called reamping.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like we recorded all of my stuff and he had these clean DIs, and later on he ended up reamping those through different amplifiers and turning the gain down and stuff because he wanted to mix it and make it sound his way. And it is what it is, you know, like I just didn't have the control of it. When we went to record intervals, again, I think it was one of those things where like Parasite did pretty good, so our label was like, oh, let's trust these guys a little bit. Big mistake. We ended up picking out a studio. We went to Full Force Studio in Long Island, which is the guy that recorded all the Suffocation records. Nice. He was the touring sound guy for Suffocation.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Joe Sincata, yeah. And it's just like my argument was like, find me a Suffocation record that doesn't sound fucking awesome. You know what I mean? So the label was like, oh yeah, I guess we could send you there. And then we ended up having it mastered by what's his name from Pig Scott Hull from Pig Destroyer, which he mastered all the Pig Destroyer stuff. You know, he's a big engineer nerd as well. So I mean, we put it in the hands of people that knew how to make something sound filthy, not unclean. Because I know, like, you know, for a person that doesn't know that, like, on a guitar tone, like clean and dirty are different things, like distortion and clean. But like a clean, heavy record can still sound clean. It's just like distorted less and things are compressed more and there's more clarity and you hear everything. There's less low end, but there's no impact or punch. And I mean, if you listen to Parasite, then you listen to intervals, you listen to distractions, the amount of low end increases so much.
Yes.
Because it's just like, you know, like if you have a lot of low end in a record, the only way it's going to sound good is if you listen to it at a very high volume. So it's like intentionally, the records are intentional to be listened to louder, you know? It's like, it might sound muddy at a low volume, but if you crank that shit, you'll hear it.
Right. Yeah. So Chris, tell me a little bit about how you do approach when you're putting vocals on the See You Next Tuesday music, because there's a very technical way that you're putting vocals in there too, because you are kind of going the whole time, right? I mean, you know, so it's like it's a lot to remember. That's a lot to remember. A lot of syllables, right?
Yeah,
you know,
So what I'll normally do is I'll wait for Drew to have, or you know, anytime we've ever wrote anything, I'm pretty much waiting for like an almost final, like rough draft. You know, like pretty close to being done. And then what I'll do is I'll map out like what patterns like seem natural to me, if I can find any. And then I kind of map syllables or place syllables in like parts where, you know, for patterns. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I'll hear a part and I'll be like 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2, you know, like, and then, you know, that's, you know, I know 2-syllable word, a 2-syllable word, a 3-syllable word, you know, like that's kind of how I approach writing lyrics for us. Just because it's so fucking all over the place. I can't just like, I have a hard time like writing like a poem or something and then fitting it to the music. I need to hear the music first and then write for it.
Yeah, you need to have that cadence first.
Yeah, which is totally different than how I write for anything else. You know, it's just us because it's so fucking all over the place.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense with how crazy the music can be, you know.
Whoops.
Thanks, Drew.
Sorry.
So, Drew's seen me very upset. Trying to fit shit in. And Drew does help me quite a bit too. Like with distractions, it took both of us on a few songs to figure out patterns, like the end of Hey Look No Crying, that breakdown. Like that breakdown is so unnatural to me that I still don't understand what the pattern is for my vocals. Like I wing it every night we play it. But it took us like really like doing math and figuring it out where certain syllables should hit and everything.
I literally like leading into our first show. We have a group text that we've had going for like literally since June of 2022 or no, June of 2021, right?
Something 22. Like that. I don't know.
22. Anyway, we've had this group text going, and there was a point where I remember I was sitting at work. I'm a mailman. I'm sitting in my truck, and I'm like, dun, 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 space, dun, da, da, space, dun, 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 space, dun, da, dun, da, dun, dun, da, da, space, dun, 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 enter. All right, that's the first part. And I text that to everybody. And then like Jimmy like would print it off and like put it on the wall in front of him to practice too. So you can be like dun 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 dun. But like literally in practice, we were sitting there like not playing, just going like real quiet, like tapping stuff like dun 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 da. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, I wrote that on my computer. That rhythm actually was I had like this solo dubstep project, which was actually like named after a magic card. It was called Thrashcaster. But I had like these like mixture of metal and dubstep, and I had like this hard dubstep part that was that breakdown. And I literally just like was listening to some shit on my SoundCloud at one point, trying to like inspire myself, you know. I was like delving back into some of my old riffs, and I came across that, and I was like, oh shit, there it is. So I had to relearn what I even programmed on the computer. So it was definitely one of those like gent moments, you know, like if everyone considers gent music like, you know, computer metal, you know, the wacky time signatures and the wacky patterns on a kick drum that no human being would ever come up with until they move little red blocks around on a computer screen.
Yeah, until you're moving them.
It is what it is. But we figured it out. The three of us can do it. Unfortunately, the pattern, it's not like Fox can't figure it out.
We got it. We dedicated like almost half of practice to me trying to get it one time, and I finally got it at the end. And then we didn't play for another like 2 weeks.
And then it goes away.
Yeah, like, forgot it out the window.
Yep. The universal musicians.
So like code. that part is just so weird. What Fox was mentioning earlier is when we wrote the pattern together, he like had words in mind that he wanted to say over that section, and we literally did little section by section. Like he'd do a little scream, and then I'd copy and paste that scream and move it over here and be like, this is the same piece here, so we can try doing this here. And then we put it all together, and then he went back through and recorded that. And then we didn't do anything for like 7 months. Or for like probably longer than that, because that was one of the first songs we recorded.
Yeah.
So it's like,
usually I memorize lyrics by like writing them and recording them, you know, because recording, you know, it's not like I do one take, you know, and fucking it's good, you know, like I lay down a scratch track, I listen to that for fucking weeks, and then I go back in and try and do it better, and then we do like kind of like a polish up type recording session too, to like make sure everything's tight. So with, especially like that breakdown and random other parts, sometimes it's hard to memorize it if I don't have that time, the weeks of like really like ingraining it into my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
and
technicality.
it was just we put it together and he was able to do it. Like once we put it together, it's not rocket science. You could see the little clips on the screen and he was able to just go through it. But then again, we finished that in June and we didn't play that till September. So it was a minute for somebody not writing his own part. I totally understand why it's a hiccup. I mean, we still all hiccup on it live. There's times where we'll be getting ready for a show and Jimmy and I will be like, I'm done.
Oh, I understand
and
that.
It was funny too, because I remember the track I'll Never Smile Again. There's the end riff to that, which is just this weird part. And like Jimmy was literally like ready to quit. He was so frustrated with it. And it's not the part you'd think. Like if you listen to the song, there's like the clean guitar part where the drums are shredding. He's like, no, I have that. That's fine. It's just the little pattern at the end. I was like, dude, it's not hard. It's just weird. I kept telling him that like every time we talk about it, we're like, it's not hard, Jimmy. It's just weird. Once you get the weirdness, you'll get it. And that was another one where he printed it off and like put it on the wall in front of him and send me videos. I've been practicing it. We celebrated once he got it.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
It was hard. It was a really funky rhythm. And he was like, no, it's based off this Coalesce song. And I was like, oh.
It was. Yeah, the song, what is it? Where the Hell is Rick Thorne? I literally just took that drum beat and slowed it down and like spaced it out. And then I wrote a riff over top of that.
So when you're writing and then, obviously, Jimmy, you're in a different location. Drew, are you just putting ideas together and then kind of showing the guys? Is that how your writing process works now? Because obviously there's probably a click track involved, right? Somehow, some way.
I guess it depends on which era you're talking about. We've had a lot of experimentation as far as compositions go.
Well, I'm kind of talking about like nowadays, since Jimmy's in the band, you guys got back together, in 2022 or whatever, and, with you guys being in different parts of, the Midwest
so
or whatever.
Right now we're working on some new material, and what we have right now is I'm trying a new way of approaching music composition. I try to almost every record. Honestly, if you go back and listen to our story of Parasite's composition, intervals composition, and distractions, each one has its own like pathway that we took, musically. But what we're working on right now is back in January, I went down to Jimmy's house, and for an entire weekend, we set up a drum kit, put a bunch of mics on it, and recorded just random patterns of him, like 15, 20-second loops, stuff he jammed, stuff that like I put it together in like a notepad on my phone, random parts from other songs that I thought would be cool if we rearranged or just random shit like that. And then I came home and I took those drum parts and I like put them together and made these songs. So it's been a wacky process, but we put together like 3 songs so far. So
nice.
That's nifty.
Well, that's cool. That's a very interesting approach to write a song, I guess.
It was actually Jimmy's idea, sort of. He had a project. Who was it with? Takafumi and
Takafumi Matsubara, the guitarist of Gridlink.
Oh,
you guys know who Gridlink is?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Love those guys.
He got sick and couldn't play guitar for a few years, and we had talked beforehand about possibly doing a project together. And because Gridlink had ended and he wasn't sick yet, and we had talked about doing a project that was similar to the East West Blast Test record, which was Dave Whitty and Chris Dodge. And Dave Whitty just sent him like 20 some drum tracks. Like he just put a click on and just played whatever the hell he wanted to. And Chris Dodge just put stuff over top of it, and it turned out to be an incredible record. And when I heard that story, I was like, that's a very interesting way to do that. So I wanted to do it with someone, and I did it with Takafumi, and we actually had I think there's close to 30 tracks that we did, but there's only 10 that exist, but they are not out in the world. I still have them because
they're awesome though.
There needs to be some things that need done, but I told Drew about this, and he thought that was really interesting, and so it's kind of how we've gone about doing this most recent thing.
That's that was over a year ago that he told me about that, and it literally just, my brain just started cooking ever since, you know. And it's been a process getting there, you know, mostly just financially, buying a shitload of fucking microphones to record a drum kit.
Right. Yeah, that's
but it's awesome, you know, like it's especially with distractions, you know, not to be a bummer about it, but it was all programmed drums.
Really?
You know, yeah, those are all programmed. I did all the programming over the course of a year and a half, and during that time frame, Andy, our previous drummer, was still like in the band. You know, he was doing our social media at the time and stuff like that, and man, it was probably what was it, Fox, like 2 months before it was done, or yeah, I mean, we finished the record in June of 2022. So it had to have been like
when you decided
to quit.
Yeah, I mean, for good reason, but
yeah.
You know, we were on.
It was only a couple months
to the point where we were gonna start like getting together and learning the song, like actually, like as a band, start to play them. And then and then Andy decided that it wasn't for him, you know. And then we didn't have a drummer.
Yeah. So, and we had plans, like we like Andy and I sat down a few times and like we're going over the songs, and he was going to go back and record them, you know. And it was just he got like a big promotion at the job that he was at and stuff like that, and he just, you know, he had a different pathway that opened up, and I totally get him. You know, it's not like we're going to make money off this or anything. So
yeah, extreme metal's a bitch to be lucrative for sure.
Yeah, and you know, by the time we ended up finding Jimmy, it was just one of those things where it's like, I mean, the drums sound fine, I guess. You know, like it's one of those things where it is what it is. You know. Like they're programmed, but it sounds cool. The record still has a vibe to it, you know. Like it still tells a story for sure.
The drum programming fits.
Too programmed though. Like a lot of people will, you know, say like, "Hey, you did a really good job on that record." You get kind of tired of saying that it's not you, and so I'm just like, thanks.
I'll tell Drew.
Yeah, if you're playing it live, then.
He does explanation, and I finally was just like, "Hey, thanks."
Yeah, still your band, bro, right?
So, I play it live; it's fine.
Yeah. So I do have a couple more questions, but can we just allude to? So you guys just took a break for a long time, then, you know, after intervals, right?
Yeah.
After that cycle, and then there was a long hiatus, and then all of a sudden here we are, 2022. It sounds like the group chat started. I'm sure you guys kept in touch somewhat, you know, but
we played we officially started playing shows again in 2015.
Okay.
And then but it was like few and far between, you know. It's just pretty much a side hustle, you know. Just like whenever somebody happened to message us wanting us to play a show, we'd go play it if it was within our capability. But then, you know, I didn't think we'd ever really write or put out an album or anything ever again, you know. And then Drew started writing,
and that's just what happened, huh?
What's that?
So that's just what happened. Drew started writing.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Hey, I got the itch to
was kind of, oh, we're doing this again. Okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I got sober.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that helps.
I mean, that's,
Congratulations.
the whole time See Next Tuesday toured back in the day, I was not a drinker at all. And, I was actually somebody, I drank in my teens. I stopped drinking when I was 17. And going into See Next Tuesday, the first go around, I didn't drink at all. And I was, I think it just let my brain do its thing, and when I turned like 31 or 32 was my first time having a drink in a bar, and I just fucking didn't care about anything,
Understandable.
But yeah, man, shortly after, during COVID and stuff, an alcohol problem turned into this, just the full-fledged like fucking emergency. And yeah, I quit drinking in October of 2020. So I'm coming up a little over 3.5 years, 3.5 years. Yeah. Holy shit.
Congrats to you, man.
3.5 years. Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, good for you.
But yeah,
awesome.
I think it was just I respectively, I had a dark cloud above me for a few years, and that wasn't allowing me to exercise the demons. And then, I found it again in this band, and Distractions was, poetically named Distractions for a reason. It was my distraction, like as somebody that, it is an addict, I guess, it was easy. It was better for me to go into my room and sit down and play guitar till 2 a.m. and not get sleep and get up and go to work the next day and just be tired and not hungover. And
yeah.
It was a game changer for sure for my life.
Especially the older we get, that hangover, that lingers for a long time. That's why I stopped drinking like 5 years ago myself. I could not do it anymore. I couldn't waste whole days. I got too much shit I want to do and just couldn't spend it fucking, feeling like shit.
Unfortunately, I do not have the privilege of just stopping at a couple drinks. So it's an all or nothing for me.
Yep. Same with
so
me.
It's like I can't. I pick up one drink and it's 3 years go by,
Right. All right. So since Rick, you joined, I'm interested to, I kind of want to know how you approach the bass parts with this, amalgamation that Drew presents to you. Program bass. Just kidding.
After that record, like he wrote all the stuff. I just have to be the motherfucker who plays it.
Yeah.
He
learns it afterwards, especially with Distractions. Distractions I wrote on my spare time, and I mean, the bass and guitars are pretty much, they're pretty cohesive in our music. It's kind of like Rick's part is like a guitar player number 2. He's just down really low.
It's a big guitar,
but it is a big guitar. He got a little bit less big of a guitar. Yeah. And it was probably the smartest move you've ever made as a bass player.
Well, I just remember watching that show that I was alluding to earlier, and I just remember seeing Rick, and he looked like a goddamn caveman up there, just fucking going off. I was like, that's the shit right there, buddy. Like, I was like, look at this dude, man. You guys are fierce. I was like, fuck yeah, that's cool.
So, it was so funny. Somebody commented on one of our photos from the show we just played and said he's never seen so much hair and so much balding all in one photo.
It was a good half and half.
Yeah. So
Fox and I are dome bros.
So
it's like 2 dudes with no hair, 2 dudes with all the hair.
Yeah. Hey. I get it.
I got all the hair. It's just not on my head.
Not to be shown,
Whoops.
Right?
Whoops.
So you think going forward when you guys are writing, is that still, Drew, are you still going to play the bass on it, and then is Rick going to learn the parts? Or now that since it's more of a cohesive thing, are you going to come in, Rick, and try to add your flavor to it? Because it sounds like Jimmy on this newer stuff, he's really going to put his stamp on it.
I've been able to record a bit so far, but I'm also kind of stuck without a car right now, so it's making it a little bit tricky. 2 weeks ago, my car caught on fire for no reason, so that was fun.
Damn.
Yeah, that was fun. That was like almost 4 weeks ago, buddy.
It's all the same to me.
Time flies when you don't have a car.
Yeah.
Just walk around, do Rick stuff. It's fine.
Yeah. I think we've all kind of agreed, though, that we want this to be more of a collaborative effort from now on, though.
Yeah.
You know, like, not that Drew's stuff by himself isn't fucking fantastic, but, you know, it's nice to have other ideas in the mix as well, you know?
I really like having Jimmy as our drummer. That's definitely awesome. Like it's so it's night and day. Like Andy was the type of person that like had to be taught something and he would play it exactly how it was done. And Jimmy's the kind of guy that's been playing metal his whole life. And like you're like, okay, you're gonna blast here, and he's gonna go this type of blasting, and like it's just natural for him to do. Oh, I'm gonna blast on this China, and then I'm gonna blast over here and alternate on the bell, and then do these crashes. Like it's just natural for him to do that. Whereas Andy would be like, okay, that's not how the drummer from Hum plays. Show me what you want me to do. You know, it's like this is. You know, he listened to vastly different music than what we played.
Yeah.
But he was a really proficient drummer. You know what I mean? He was, like I said, he was one of those people where like you said, blast on the bell for 8 measures, blast on the hi-hat for, 4 beats, then switch to an alternating D beat for 2 beats on this crash. Like he was that kind of person. And it had its pros and cons, but like I said, I'm really enjoying being able to just be like, okay, Jimmy, blast in 7/8. And he goes, okay. And I get whatever output I get, you know what I mean? Like you just give him an instruction and not like an actual, like, here's exactly what you have to do, which I think is really great, So it's been fun to play around with that. Being able to write music over top of his drums has been really fun because it's a totally different flavor.
Yeah, that's cool as fun.
And like I said, Rick said he was, before his car caught on fire, he did come up here and we kind of worked out some bass parts and stuff. And, like I already laid down guitar parts, so I knew in my head like a lot of what was going to happen, but like I intentionally didn't like try to hear something, and him and I like worked through a couple songs worth of stuff, and so it was cool.
So
tell
real
me,
quick,
go ahead.
In the writing process, I was just wondering, Drew, are you sharing these files with these guys like through an email just so they can have them in their head and kind of help acclimate themselves to what's to come, or is it just kind of like, is it more like I have it finished, now here you go, you get to learn it, or is that going to change?
I don't know. I mean, like. The new stuff, it's just sitting in a Dropbox. I share it with them, but like they have lives, like they're not going to sit there and try to learn songs that we're not going to put out for like a year. Cause like the songs that we're working on right now, we just put out another record, like it's going to be a minute before those are going to be played live, So yeah, and I mean, like, I'm trying not to make the same mistakes I made with Distractions. Like I finished over half that record before Fox came in and put vocals on one song. So like I had in my head, unintentionally, I'd listened to these songs so many times, just scrutinizing the mix and scrutinizing, my riffs and making sure everything is where I want it to be and blah, 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 blah. So like I unintentionally started like having in my head like, oh, it'd be really cool if like there was a big long scream here or something like that, and then he'd come in and do the vocals, and I mean he'll contest to how mad he got at me, but like it was a very long time between when I wrote those songs and when he came in and did vocals on them. So it's like I'm this new stuff now, I'm intentionally trying real hard to not like even hear bass over it. I'm like, I'll wait for Rick to come over and we'll write some stuff. And I'm not going to think about vocals because River Fox will scream at me, and that
don't fucking think about it.
Let him do his job.
Chris,
I'll ask you if I need help.
I got to imagine it helps to hear those things first, Chris, so you can write your part for yourself.
I don't think he's listening to it yet.
Yeah, he can just do the scratch tracks and then I'll write the lyrics for it.
There you go.
Yeah, he's like, no more da 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 space da da da.
Shit's over.
I'm good on that, buddy.
No more Morse code beats, please. Spare me the Morse code beats.
I always use drummer phonetics, the duns and the chas.
The chas, yeah. So Jimmy, how did
I talk to him a lot?
Jimmy, how did you get into the band? And by the way, I've seen your Blastbeats, and kudos. I've seen you doing some gravity blasts, so that speaks to my heart right there. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
The little poon tickling.
Little spoon man.
What? Do what? Well, the reason that I'm in this band is because of this guy right here.
Okay.
When my old band played with See You Next Tuesday back in 2005 at some point, Rick and I became really good buddies and stayed in touch ever since then. And when Andy left the band, they were asking around different people, and they had a few other people in mind. John Cole from Psyopus was actually one of those people. And he wasn't able to do it. And
wait, that's his last name, not the Brutal.
Oh, it's John the Brutal. But anyway, he lives, much further away than I do. So the logistics.
Yeah, New Hampshire or Massachusetts or something.
Yeah. So Rick was like, "Hey, you want to join our band?" And I was like, "Huh?" And I thought he was joking with me at first, and he clearly wasn't. So that's how I'm.
Yeah, he said here, call Papa Drew. Talk to him about it.
And then Drew talked my ear off for about 4 months straight after that. And
no, Drew talk your ear off.
Did you need convincing?
No, just every day we talked on the phone talking about the songs, like getting to hear Distractions like before anybody else world ever did, and him talking about like, okay, well, we want to do these couple songs from the record to start. This is what you have to learn. And I had already been very familiar with the catalog for years from just being a fan and just knowing these guys. And so, learning some of the older songs was kind of tricky, but I had a good grasp on, the meat and potatoes. It was just kind of like the inner mechanics that I needed Drew's help with, like for certain songs that have a funky count, like, like stuff from Intervals that's kind of like got a wacky blast and snare pattern at the same time, like that Dillinger type stuff. But learning all the songs, like we talked on the phone like for like 4 to 6 months, like pretty much every day, like while he was working and I was working, talking about the show coming up, learning the songs. How are you doing with the songs? Are you practicing? Me, no.
The words no guitar player wants to hear from their drummer.
Can't fire him
I stress Drew out sometimes, but in a different way. But it's really just
he's the blast beat machine, that's for sure. I always say that I gotta take care of the blast beat machine at the show. Find him his Coca-Colas, get him a good cooling fan.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
It's like that show that you saw us at the Crowfoot, or is that what it was?
Yeah, that's where it was.
Yeah.
That show for me was very stressful because it was the first show with See You Next Tuesday that I did not have my own drum kit. And a lot of those bands play 4-piece drum kits with, or 5-piece, but 1 rack tom. And so I'm used to having, my own setup with 2 rack toms and a floor tom. And I had to borrow like
a metal kit
from people and like getting set up. And they were like, "You guys got to get going. You guys got to get going." I'm like, holy shit, I don't have time for this. And then we were playing a much shorter set, which I wasn't used to, which was kind of fun in a way.
I was tired.
I was less tired, but we had been playing the songs a certain way, and I was like, well, we're not playing all these. So I had to like in my head and practice, like relearn a set list in a different way. So that show for me was really stressful, but I'm really glad that you thought it was a good show.
You guys pulled it off. You guys were awesome. That was the first time I got to see you, and I was very impressed.
I didn't hear a single thing on stage.
Oof.
But it was fun.
me being a musician,
big stage.
Me being a musician too, it's like I know what it takes to pull shit off, and especially the kind of music that you guys do. Like everything sounded clean up front, and all the notes were there, all the parts were there. So I was very impressed. You guys came out with like just this low ass kind of breakdown off the rip type thing too. That was very impactful, and I enjoyed myself. I thought it was cool.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
It's always nice to hear.
I was familiar with you guys' music for a long time, but I can say I became a fan that day because I was like, and when I started this podcast, you guys' name was on the list. Like, I got to talk to these guys, especially being, almost kind of local too. So, you guys represent for our scene and you represent for extreme metal, and I appreciate that. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, the extreme is for real there. When I listened to the catalog last night, I wanted to become instantly familiar with it, and I was like, these guys are full of piss and vinegar. Holy shit. I mean, clearly. Yeah. I mean, you're all nice guys.
We've dealt with these Michigan winners for far too long.
Oh, it all makes sense now.
Oh, yeah.
So we got Distractions 2023, right? That's when it came out last year. I listened to it a couple times last year, and then I listened to it just recently to become more acclimated. So just a few things, just a few notes from me real quick. The music starts, there's like at the beginning of the, record, it might be the second track. You guys' tracks go so fast. If I don't hurry up and look to see what track it is, I'm like, oh, it's already on the second one. There's an actual guitar solo. So I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of new and interesting. I thought that was cool. I noticed there was some synth elements starting to be added. Like, I don't know how much of that you guys used before, but I started noticing that on this Distractions albums, the mix is very full, punishing. I mean, it's just fucking, like you said earlier, Drew, it just kind of goes up and up and up with each release, but this thing was just heavy in your ears, and it really fucking kicks you in the nuts. The bass really sticks out, so, I would say kudos to Rick, but you do a great job. I know Drew did that, but hey, you play it live, so we've already went over that. And then
he does.
So
and he does it the whole time with his hair doing that.
Oh yeah, so, for sure, man. Fucking rules the stage.
Give the man some credit.
Yeah, rules the stage with that half hair that he's got. The 2 parts hair and the 2 parts not. So, and then you guys have that strange, epic slow outro kind of with the melody on that. Fucking, how Nick, we were talking earlier or whatever. So super cool fucking record. I loved it, dudes.
Thank you.
Great job on that.
Yeah.
And then, so now we're in 2024, and now we come out with Relapses. So tell me a little bit about what Relapses is about. I know it's probably a little less involved from all musicians because it looks like there's a lot of other people that kind of remix some of your stuff. Is that what I'm picking up? Some of it's very intense. Some of it's a little like some EDM synthwave stuff at times, and then there is some of it just really punishes your ears. I mean, it is fucking right there on you.
It is a roller coaster, Ryan. That's for sure. Honestly, it was the songs that have like the opening track and then the 2 like real short grindcore tracks. Those are the first drums that Jimmy played on. So that's actually Jimmy playing drums.
Oh, nice.
That was
finally,
finally real drums. I mean, that was the big thing is when we decided to we kind of took like the 2 cyber grind tracks from Distractions, and Jimmy learned those drum parts. And like I said earlier, it wasn't him just like learning them to the T. He kind of did his own thing, made his own drum parts for him. And then I wrote some music over top of that, and we recorded him. He got really frustrated and sad, but then he nailed it, and it sounded really great. So yeah, we got to do some like real drums. Was really fun. The first track was just like the intro on Distractions. I was like, well, we should probably flip this around and just make it a punishing breakdown, because why not? And then, from there, it was just a bunch of handoffs. We got a bunch of different artists from all over the world. I just gave them like the multi-tracks. So each, like they had a snare on its own track and everything on its own tracks, and they got to just pick and choose what they wanted. And really, it was just a kind of a big experiment. Like Chris and I are big electronic fans. Like that's our commonality music wise. Like his musical taste metal wise is like opposite end of the spectrum for metal that I listen to. And same with Rick and Jimmy too. Like Rick has his death metal bands that he likes, and Jimmy has his bands that he likes. And but yeah, Chris's commonality and I is a lot of like Nine Inch Nails and Youth Code and just that spectrum of music. And it was kind of fun to just put something together and I don't know, just push the boundaries even more, so we picked out a bunch of artists that were all stuff that we're fans of, and a bunch of artists that do the more aggressive side of EDM. Outside of the Child of Night one, I know you mentioned there's a dancey track on there, which just Jonathan from Child of Night was the guitar player in Jimmy's old band, the Heartland. So it just felt perfect, like every artist just kind of fell into their own place for this record. And then lastly, the closing track on Distraction, Strange Music. That was, we had like another 4 or 5 minutes of that, and it was like this industrial stuff. And I just never finished it. And Chris and I just kind of talked about it like right around the time we finished the record and like turned it over to get mastered. We're just like, let's just cut it. It's not for this record. There's not enough stuff.
It didn't like fit with anything on the record at all. I mean, besides the two like real quick like cyber grind type songs, but it didn't even really like link up with that at all. So it just it didn't fit.
Yeah. Those two songs wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Chris telling me that it didn't fit though. Because like literally, like I wrote this cool stuff and I sent him the track and he was like, it's really cool, but it doesn't fit the record at all. There's not enough electronic stuff anywhere else in the record. So I went back and wrote those two songs. It was like, how about these? And he's like, still not enough. I'm like, all right, whatever. Do you want to put vocals on these though? But yeah. So when Relapses came around, that was actually probably the big catalyst. Was just like, hey, I have this kind of electronic stuff. Let's figure out a way to put it on a record that's more electronic forward. And what better way than to get Pedram and Chad from Frontier to help you finish it and put out a track that doesn't sound like either of our bands.
Yeah. So Chris, you and Drew kind of made a list of some people you wanted to reach out to then to see if you could remix some stuff.
I can't take a lot of credit for Relapses. Drew, did quite a bit on his own. Just I have a very stressful, busy life outside of the band. So this was kind of, just passed off to Drew to do whatever he saw fit, and he did a great job with it. And, he was reaching out to bands or groups, I should say, to see who would, even have interest in remixing any of our songs, so he's really, he'd run it by us, but it was him for sure, like reaching out to all these groups and seeing who would even want to.
Nice. So you guys pretty proud. Oh, go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry.
Drew and I had talked about a couple of different people because, Drew and I, being in the scene for as long as we have, we know a lot of people. And like we got my friend Jonathan to do it. He was in my old band, The Heartland. We asked a couple of other people who were not able to do it. Like we asked Dylan from Full of Hell if he would be interested because I've known him for a little while. And Ethan Lee McCarthy of Primitive Man has been a friend of mine since his old band way back in the day, and he just wasn't able to do it either. So, but Drew really knew a lot of these people that we got. And was it what you say was Curly that like from Zombie Shark that kind of like you were asked like first?
Yeah, we right around the time that I thought of this, it was literally right around the time Distractions came out, because like Distractions, I finished it and sent it off to be mastered in June of 2022, and then we just had to sit on it because like our Good Fight that put it out, they knew that it was going to have a big impact. We didn't. We're just like, it's just music, let's just put it out, it's not a big deal. But they wanted to treat it as something as special, which is, it makes sense. They know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So I had time to like cook. I was bored. I was just fresh out of making this record, and I was like, didn't know what to do with myself. And we were on tour with Bandit for the release of Distractions. So end of February of 23, and Curly came out to our show in Baltimore. He's a Philly guy. And we're just like hanging out in the back room, and he brought this big Rice Krispie treat that was filled with weed, and we ate it together. And I was just sitting back there talking about like some electronic stuff. And he was just like, if you ever do a remix, I want to do I'll Never Smile Again. That song's fucking awesome. I was like, all right, done. And then, you fast forward a couple months, and this whole thing started kind of coming to fruition. He was the first person that like I sent an email or a text out to, and he was like, yes, I'll do that song. So
I think we already kind of discussed it a little bit too, because we were talking about Fear Factory quite a bit.
Yeah. The whole demanufacture, remanufacture thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was nothing like set in stone, but we were like, what if we did something like this, but yeah.
Every part of that record just kind of came together as it was coming together, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not like Distractions where like I knew that it was going to be a whole bunch of songs on one side and one song on the other side. The one song's going to be really long. Like I knew that going into that record. Like I had all this stuff planned out for Distractions well before Distractions was even written. With Relapses, it was just like flying by the seat of my pants, where it was just like, shit, I really like LLNN. So I showed Fox, and he was like, oh my God, this band fucking rules. So we love this band. I was like, all right, I'm going to message the two brothers that are in LLNN and see what they're up to. They do John Connor. And it was just like, I've never talked to these dudes. Their band is really popular. And I just sent them an email, and they're in Denmark, and they sent me an email with real bad English. And they were like, yeah, we'd love to remix your grindcore. And I'm like, awesome. Like it was just every step of the way. It was just like, asking Kyle from Body Snatcher to do a song, Yeah. That was funny. Like, it was just one of those things where, like, when we first announced Distractions, he messaged the band and was just like, holy shit, I've been a fan of you guys since I was 13. I remember listening to you guys while riding the bus to school. And when this all came around, it was just one of those things where it's just like, he's just Kyle to me, like he's just this dude that we talk to. So I just messaged him and was like, hey dude, you want to sing on this 30-second song? And he was like, dude, I would be absolutely fucking honored. And I was, nice. Yeah, it was wild. Yeah. But I mean, it was just day by day, it was just like, who are we going to message next? It was kind of fun to put together. And everything worked out great. I mean, every artist was wonderful to work with. Everybody was given total autonomy, like I didn't sit there and micromanage it by any means, like I wanted this to be fun for everybody. And then Jimmy and I together, we came up with that whole artist variant thing. That was big. A huge thing that we thought of right off the bat too is like everybody that's involved needs to get something really cool and unique out of it. And Good Fight, being the fucking awesome label that they are, went along with it. So we did like that alternate art. I don't know if you guys saw the variants for it.
Yep,
but there's like there are matte black sleeves that we special ordered from this paper company. We sent them to our the the people in Michigan that do our shirts, they screen print our shirts, and they screen printed these jackets for us, and there's only 50 of them available. And we sold 25 of them to 25 lucky people that got them, and then we gave the rest of them out to every artist that was part of this project. So it was like a big our way of saying thanks kind of thing. So it was fun.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's intense, but it's definitely fun. Like I like the take on it. It was very refreshing, something new, interesting. It's like you guys' music and like just the remix of it. Like it's a interesting idea, taking it to the next level.
Thank you.
Look, I don't want to keep you guys all day. I know, Chris, you got a deadline you need to hit, and I know you guys got stuff to do. I got a couple more questions for you if you guys are cool with that, and I'll let you go. I appreciate your time. Thank you guys so much for coming on the pod. I do got a few things I'd like to talk about before we're done, and then we'll finish up here soon if you guys are good with that.
Yeah, sure, sounds good.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about, with you guys being all over, do you have some kind of practice schedule? Are we just getting together before the tour? We'll talk a little bit about that, or is there some kind of practice regimen that we're doing?
You called it right there, buddy. We're getting right before the tour.
Yeah. We're reconvening at my house on 4/18, and then we play our first show 4/19.
Yeah, at the Pike Room, right?
Basically,
yes, sir.
Basically, what it's boiled down to is a lot of self-discipline, practicing on your own. We've had this set list.
Not for me.
You a fancy boy.
I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. I can still hear you guys.
Cool. Heard that.
I'll mute it though, so you can't hear.
No, I wanted to hear it. Maybe we could sample it. Basically, we've had the set list set since the shows at the beginning of this year that we did with Meth for their album release. And it's basically just practice until we can all get together, and hopefully it all goes well. It's like we are throwing in something new that we didn't have at the beginning of the year.
The new track, the new opening track from Relapses, we're gonna open our set with. It's gonna be fun.
Cool. All right, nice.
It's very ion dissonance, breakdowny and punishing, and I will be gassed out by that song and have to play 45 more.
So you guys just go up to Drew's house, hang for a couple of days and practice? Is that, or a day?
Sometimes we go down to Jimmy's too.
Okay, cool.
My situation for practicing here is I live in the country and I got a garage that's not heated. So during the summer months, we try to come up here because we got more space and it's easier to practice. All the gear's already up here. But then for the winter months, it's too cold. So we go to Jimmy's tiny little basement. We cram in there and get real sweaty and fart a bunch and play some grindcore.
Nice. And do what you got to do. That's awesome.
It's one of those things that, it kind of works out because, it's a change of scenery for everybody. Like, I get to go up to Michigan for a couple of days on a weekend and practice. And usually we only do it if, we have something coming up that we know, like a weekend run or something. Like last year, we would get together like a weekend or two beforehand and just practice like for 2 days and then, call it. But, I thought it was going to be a lot harder at first when first joining the band. Like, Drew, like if Drew and I lived close enough together, like we would probably practice at least like, and that's mainly because he wants to. He wants to play, which I get.
We want to hang out.
Yeah. But like we just it worked out. Like we're pretty, when it comes time to do the thing, we're all professional about what we do, and it's and we get it done, and we don't, I don't think we slouch when we do the live show. So we're ready to go when the time's ready to happen. So
okay,
it's just one of those things where you kind of come down and do it.
I definitely practice nonstop. And that's so does Rick. I know Jimmy after a tour, we call it what do we call it? Like this little break, drum break.
Drum siesta.
Like drum siesta. Yeah.
I don't pick up a pair of sticks for a while, to be honest.
Yeah, like we played the last show of the year was the From a Second Story Window show, which was mid November. And we recorded and practiced. We practiced for the Meth Tour, their CD release shows, and we did the recording for him mid-January. And he started practicing like earlier that week. So like he had this like 2-month break where he just didn't play. And I was like, I get it. You know, like you know, like he has so much other stuff going on. For me, it's like it's therapeutic still to me, you know what I mean? So like for me, when I'm stressed out, I personally go in my studio and play some metal, you know, like that's what I do, you know? And I think Rick's in a similar boat, you know. I know he likes to decompress and record some death metal in his little studio at his house too. And so we all have our different ways about it, but like what Jimmy said, when push comes to shove, when it's time to become a professional, like Jimmy's no slouch at picking up sticks and practicing every day for a week going into tour. So
yeah, well, that's
blisters on the fingers.
Getting it done when it counts. So you guys are going out on tour here shortly on 4/19. The date starts right at the Pike Room. You guys are
yes, sir.
I see there's several bands, but Mutilatred is one of them.
Those guys
those guys are sick.
They're so good.
Yeah, and
then they're so disgusting.
And then I know you at the Pike Room, our homies in Pain Divine is actually on that bill, so that's kind of that'd be a cool ass show.
Yeah, this is my first time seeing them guys. They like messaged the Pike Room, I guess, that asked to play, and like, yeah, go for it, let's do it. Everything Evil are like our besties. Those guys are fucking awesome.
Super good.
And then. Yeah, super great band too. Just definitely like some post-hardcore.
Very like Hope Conspiracy feel.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And Joey is their guitar player is a vinyl nerd like Jimmy, which is always appreciated. Seeing somebody, you know, just collect music that way. And then Moral Pollution. Those are some homies from way back when. There's some Saginaw boys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Alex. It's got Danny Soap and Jeremy Goss from Fight It Out.
Oh, okay.
Joe. Yeah.
Got Joe.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys will be out through 5/4, it looks like?
Yep. Yeah, so 16 days, 15 shows.
Okay. And you guys just got a van, trailer?
We got a RAV4, man.
Really?
A RAV4 hybrid.
Okay.
It's a tight squeeze.
Yeah.
Sucks. Especially when one of us is 2 people on there.
Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, driving a giant van is not for any of us. And we don't, you know, this is like our big tour of the year. You know, last year we kind of get our feet wet. We did 3 like long weekends and then some sparse shows here and there. This tour here is like our big tour. Like Jimmy and I, we work for jobs that have like finite amount of time off and stuff. So this is it. So it's like, I'm not going to, you know, none of us are in a position to drop 30 grand on a van.
Right.
And we're at that age too, where it's just like, you know, if we got a van, we'd be sleeping in the van, where it's like, you know, we drive in a RAV4, but you know, we're getting hotels every night. So that's the concession.
Yeah.
You know, the drives are tight, but at least every night we're getting a clean shower and we're getting some beds. So it's a toss up.
Yeah. The long tours, that's a young man's game, you know, especially when you have a bed and a shower and you can just go do that, you know, so you got to do it for the love of it. But hey, I commend you guys for still getting out there and, you know, getting on the road.
We're doing what we can.
Tours,
I mean, we realize that it's not the longest tour that we've ever done by any means, but you know, this is what we can do, and we want to do what we can do. So that's about it. You know, it'll be fun.
Get out there and share your art. Well, there's a bunch of other things I'd love to talk to you guys about, but like I said, I'm not going to take up your day. We've been at it for about an hour and a half now, and that's kind of what I would said. But I appreciate you guys' time. Like, really, really deeply, thank you for coming on our podcast and talking about your art.
And, thanks for having us.
Is there anything else you guys want to promote or talk about or anything? Or
come out to the shows, please.
Okay. I plan on
Foxes in a bunch of different bands. Oh, you guys have Michigan audience, right? Go get tattoos from Fox and Rick.
Okay.
They need money.
Cool.
For tour.
Sounds good.
I need money.
I'm going to put this out probably a week or so before the tour, so then
awesome.
So people will kind of know you guys are going on tour and stuff. So
cool.
Make sure people are aware. But with that being said, hey man, it was nice meeting you guys. Thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciate you coming on the Metal Maniacs podcast, man.
No problem at all. Thank you for having us.
Much love, brothers.
See ya.
Keep it metal. Peace. See you.
Sweet.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much for checking out the episode. Be sure to hit that like button and give us a share.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed our podcast today, please give it a rating on your streaming service to help us gain some exposure.
And if you really enjoyed the show, please give us a follow or hit that subscribe button and come hang out with us every week. And remember, keep it metal.